Ladies and gentlemen, as I think you will all know, today is the anniversary of the Manchester Arena bombing. And for that purpose, there will be a national observation of a minute's silence, which has been arranged for 2:30 this afternoon. Although we're here to remember the victims of the Grenfell Tower fire, I hope you agree with me that it would be appropriate for us to express our sympathy for and solidarity with those who were injured and bereaved by the terrorist act in Manchester. For us to observe a minute's silence at 2:30 would, I fear, disrupt the next commemoration, and it therefore seems to me more appropriate that we should observe that silence ourselves now, rather than to cause the disruption that it would involve if we did it later on. So with that in mind, I'm going to invite you to stand with me to observe a minute's silence to commemorate the victims of the terrorist offence in Manchester. Thank you all very much. Yes, Mr. Richmond.
The next commemoration is a second set of commemorations to Mary Mendy and Mendy and Say from flat 173, and it involves a number of people with a number of different presentations.
Thank you.
The first of the presentations is a statement by a person called Pa Sa, who has asked that Martin Howe from Howe & Co. read his statement. And I'm going to ask Mr. Howe to come to the lectern and read that statement.
Good, thank you.
So this is a statement on behalf of the brother of Mary Mendy and the uncle to Kajida, Pa Sa. My name is Pa Sa. I was born in Gambia in September 1958. I am the eldest of 3 brothers and sisters. 2 of my sisters, Betty and Mary, were born in Gambia. My other sister Caroline and my 2 younger brothers, David and Nathaniel, were born in this country. I want to say a few words about my sister Mary and my niece Kajida, who both lived on the 20th floor in Grenfell Tower. Tragically, both of them passed away in the fire on the 14th June 2017. Mary was the first of my siblings to settle permanently in this country. She came over here with my mother many years ago. I used to visit her from time to time, but I stayed living in the Gambia until about 16 years ago, when I moved to London and I settled in Stockwell. By the time I moved here, Mary was already living in Grenfell Tower, and I used to spend a lot of time with her there and with Kajide. I sometimes used to stay over in their flat at the weekends. As I was new to London, I spent a lot of time travelling around and looking at things, and my sister showed me the sights. she was an excellent and brilliant tour guide. My sister was also a very good cook, and she used to enjoy cooking Gambian food for us when I came to see her. We used to have feasts together. It reminded us both of home. I used to travel abroad with my sister, and I have very fond memories of a trip we both made back to Gambia together. I moved back to Gambia about 8 years ago and stayed there for 2 years, and then came back to Britain and started living in Coventry. That meant that my visits to see Mary were more difficult, as I simply couldn't travel down to London as often as I would like to have. When I heard about the fire at Grenfell, I was full of dread. And when I found out that both Kajide and Mary were missing, I was devastated. I simply could not and cannot come to terms with their loss. They were both just such lovely women. I think about both of them every day, no matter where I am or what I am doing. I'm not able to stop thinking about them, and I don't want to. I remember the funerals for both Kajide and Mary. Very many people attended both funerals. Before my sister Mary's funeral, the family were advised and we agreed that we should wear white. We were told that so many people were expected to turn up for the funeral that it would help and allow mourners to identify family members. In the event, hundreds of people turned up for Mary's funeral. There were so many that the mourners could not all fit into the chapel. Hundreds of people had to stand outside. Mary was just so popular with so many people. She bonded with people regardless of their race, their colour, or their creed. The loss of both Mary and Kajida makes no sense to me at all. They have both been taken away from us far too soon, and they both had so much more to live for.
Ready?
Good afternoon. I'm here today to honour Mary and Khadija. But before I do so, I'd just like to tell you my name is Clary Mendy Solomon, and the delegation I'm here with today, I'll briefly introduce you to. This is my elder brother Ambrose, who is also going to present a reading, a tribute. We have our barrister, our QC, Leslie Thomas, Linda Baker, who is our solicitor, Tala, who is also working alongside Mr. Lewis. We have Francis, Diane, Emma, and my cousin Damal.
We've not got a rush, that's the most important thing. We can take our time, but I think you've learnt the first problem we have, which is if you turn away on that particular microphone, we lose your voice. So I may say to you from time to time, we just need to lose your voice, okay?
Thank you.
We can wink at each other like that if it's easier for you.
No doubt.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to extend my heartfelt sympathy to all my cousins, Mary's siblings here and abroad in the Gambia, to all her nephews, nieces, and great-nephews and nieces, and to all the cousins and extended family, as well as to Khadija's father and the rest of the family. I'd also like to extend my sympathy and appreciation to the wider community that have been very supportive of the family in the aftermath of the Grenfell inferno.
Now, what we're going to do is take it piece by piece. I think the first thing you're going to do is read something you've written, which includes something you think that Mary's father would have wanted to say, and a poem, is that right?
My father.
Your father, forgive me. And a poem.
That's correct. First, I would like to say before I read this, my father brought Mary to this country. She lived with us before she moved on and settled. And if my father were here on earth today, I can guarantee this is what he would say. Mary Mendy, when I assisted you with your application for your visa to come to the family home in the UK, I did so as an uncle, a humanitarian, thinking you would embark on a journey to further discover this world, reconnect with your family abroad, study, make well of yourself, and live a long, happy life. If my father were alive today and saw what become of you and your daughter, Khadija, what you both endured to the last breath of air, I think he would be as gutted as us all, even more so as he assisted you in obtaining your visa to enter the UK. We, his children, my family, I'm one of 10, feel the guilt and pain of what you suffered and what you ultimately, inevitably endured. We, the children of the late Ambrose Mendy, are so sorry. Sorry that our father even helped you to come to London to meet this terrible, haunting end. I know in my heart that my father never thought one day your dreams, aspiration, hopes, reality, and lives would be shattered overnight. Mary, had you stayed on the smiling coast of West Africa, the Gambia, I am positive you would still be on this earth plane today. We, the children of Ambrose Mendy, have taken up the humanitarian baton, which he wielded. We pledge to fight for your justice, truth, accountability, restitution, for the death for you, your daughter, and the 71 other people consumed in the inferno, who are your neighbours, community, and friends. Your friends, family, and community members miss you and pray for you every day. As a child of my parents, I will never give up in the fight for equality, human rights, and justice. I pray you never died in vain. Peace be with you, my smiling angel. Be assured my late father never insisted in bringing you here to the UK to end in an early grave. I'd now like to read a poem that I wrote for my pen portrait. Mary Mendy, sister, auntie, cousin, and friend. She loved and was loved by everybody until the very end. I remember the days we spent in the sun on the smiling coast of West Africa, the Gambia. We had so much fun. The love and happiness that genuinely flowed. Her smile was like sunshine. She really glowed. Mary was spiritual, loving and giving. Mary worked hard with valor for her family for a living. So warm and gentle, like a beautiful summer breeze. Being in Mary's company, one was at ease. Mary Mendy and Khadija Say, millions of people worldwide heard about that tragic day, that you perished and died in the infamous Grenfell Tower. People watched and prayed hour by hour, praying you had made it safely out of the building, praying you both were still on earth with the living. No one expected you ever to both meet this tragic end. It's still unbelievable. One can only imagine how you were left to fend. So sorry we couldn't do more to prolong your lives. So we were cut down by a blazing force more dangerous than a knife. With only fond memories of you, we are left to live in the land of the living. You are fun-loving, so full of life and forgiving. We lost an angel when you left this realm. The family and your community held you at the helm. Such beautiful souls just passing through. You left your legacy shining artistically too. From caring to sharing, giving and loving, you gave to one and all. Your soul shone brightly, resonating very tall. I send my love to you, my cousins, good souls on this earth. May divine spiritual eternal love be your rebirth. Into heaven you've descended to sit among angels at the final end. Gone, never to be forgotten, forever my friend, cousin, family.
Thank you, Clary. I think now that Ambrose is going to come forward. Now, Ambrose, there's two parts to your address, aren't there?
There are indeed, yes.
And so you're going to, I think, talk a little about both ladies, but also to read a poem.
Indeed.
And which are you going to do first?
I'm going to read the poem first. This is a pen portrait of Mary and Khadija, written by my sister Nelisa. Rest in peace, Mary and Khadija, two young lives cut tragically short. Amongst 71 others in the fire at Grenfell, they were fatally caught. A lifetime ahead of them, two beautiful cousins with so much to give. Mother and daughter side by side together, they'd lived. Cousin Mary's smile so bright has helped make so many people's burdens light. A word, advice, a hug, or some food, her presence could really help lift the mood. Those in need were welcomed into her heart. Guidance, protection, love and laughter she'd impart. She worked so hard, she gave her best, a supporter of people who more often said yes. She raised her daughter, welcoming family and friends. It is absolutely mind-blowing when we know how it ends. On the brink of success, Khadija had a plan. She fought so hard to make a stand. Though life hadn't been easy, she didn't give up. She fought her way to get to the top. Together they've entered into death, which has left us all feeling so bereft. I pray for them and all who died in this awful, tragic fire. I pray for them that justice will come and not just be remembered as a lesson to be learned. May God Almighty bless all those souls whose avoidable deaths have taken them home. May all of us left behind be given strength and comfort find. From broken hearts and memories, please help us, God, and our families. We need healing and assurance. It will not happen again. We need to see that justice is done, that not one life will have been in vain. For all the families of the Grenfell fire and those within the community, my heart goes out to every single one of you and those who also watched it on TV. May your souls rest in eternal peace, dear Mary, sister, auntie, cousin, friend and neighbour, and Khadija, daughter, niece, cousin, friend and neighbour, as we continue to seek the truth and respect for Grenfell, gone but never forgotten.
Ambrose, thank you. Now, as far as I've understand from speaking to you a little earlier, there was a memorial for Mary and Khadija. And what happened was that at some point you spoke. So I think we've got the memorial to play, and then it will stop at the point when you spoke, and in fact you will then speak to us.
Thank you.
Rather than seeing you saying. So I don't know if you want to take your seat while we play this. I know it lasts for a few minutes,
Okay.
but we're going to watch the memorial, and then when it finishes, at the place where you would have spoken, you'll come and tell us what you want to say.
Sure.
Very good. Thank you very much. Can we please then dim the lights and show the memorial?
Come together today to remember, to lament, to give thanks for Mary, Khadija, Bertie, Billock and Isaac. Out of the depths I have cried to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears consider well the voice of my supplication. God is our strength and refuge, a very present help in times of trouble. We meet in the name of Jesus Christ, who died and was raised to the glory of God the Father. We come to give thanks for our loved ones who have died, to comfort one another with the word of life, and to seek God in these days of sorrow. Grace and peace be with you.
And also with you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adelaide. I'm Khadija's cousin. It's just a small something I've written about my feelings and my experience with younger Khadija. And it goes. So the things that ran through my mind that night. Scared to sleep, wondering if I'd missed something, if there was a family friend that lived in the area where they had gone to after they had escaped. Was there another centre that we weren't aware of? Did we ask the right questions at the hospitals? And were we given the right answers? Could one of them be in a coma whilst the other in shock, not remembering any contact details? Might they be separated? Because that would be the worst thing. I closed my eyes and I said a prayer. Lord, wherever they might be, I pray that they are together. So it was now the 15th of June, 2017, at around 3:30 a.m. I hear banging. In the distance, I heard the door open, followed by my sister calling my name. The police liaison officers. At that moment, I was shocked, confused, and dumbfounded all at the same time. I zoned out. I could hear my heart beat inside my head. I tried to think, it's not her, they've got the wrong person. I fought with my feelings and kept believing, kept hoping and praying. Denial left and pain kicked in. I felt an excruciating and an almost unbearable pain. I felt powerless at the thought that there was nothing else that I could have done. Through her expressive art, Khadija brings us into her heart and we tap into her soul. She takes us on a journey into understanding her life growing up in a multi-faith household and showed us her inspirations from the Christian baptism to the way the Muslims pray. She invited us into her home, introduced us to her mother and the Gambian culture. She let us into her world, a world that she treasured. On a summer's day, we would look up from the park, guessing which window belonged to us. Ah yes, the ever so flamboyant red curtains that emulated Auntie Mary's personality. That big smile and her love for enjoyment meant she would always be the last person on the dance floor. Carnival was always her best summer activity. She would sign us all up for St. Clement's and pay for our costumes so we could take part. And she would make us dance all day long. Khadija's Holy Communion was another special day, dressed beautifully in white from head to toe. There wasn't a child in sight dressed better than her. I had never seen so many happy kids and adults in one flat. The children were running around from the 20th story flat, into the lift and down to the centre where they had an extra party. I remember Auntie Mary insisting for every child to have a party bag. The adults ate, drank and danced into the early evening. These are the memories I choose to remember. 173 Grenfell Tower, the flat where families got together for parties and where social gatherings were held. A place where love was given and received, where endless joy was felt. That happy place. Now stands a war zone dipped in blood, black, filled with ashes and skeletons, with the silent voices that will never be heard. The lost soul whispers. The question is why? In the silence, you can hear the wind blowing, but it will never be seen. No sound. The tower was once so lively, colourful and full of happiness. Today we hear echoes of screams in the distance. We hear different tongues speaking foreign languages, yet we understand. We become one. One family, one nation, one society in mourning. My mind took a journey. Pictures, memories, hugs, kisses, gatherings, weekends and summers spent. Memories wiped out in minutes. A lasting reminder of the pain we share. Right there, where the towers stood tall and proud, representing the forgotten minority that became the majority in a multicultural London. The regeneration of the eyesore which has taken away my aunt and cousin forever. Frustration gave way to anger and I wanted to blame someone. As the deer pants for water, so my soul longs after you. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you, O Lord. My prayers were answered, they were at least together. Khadija has reminded me that there is something bigger than just working. Her creativity and passion has inspired people to do better and make a difference. Eventually, she would have been well established. A humble and peaceful soul, Khadija was proactive, and her mind set on making something of herself. She touched people's hearts. She has left behind the most valuable thing, which is the difference she has made in people's lives through art and those she met in person. Her creativity will live forever. If I had another moment with Khadija, I would embrace her, tell her how special she is, and how much she is loved. To the younger Khadija, I would say, don't worry about a thing, because God will take control. You are my inspiration. Rest in the arms of the Lord, Khadija and Auntie Mary.
Lammy MP and his wife, Nicola, has sent a tribute, and Ambrose is going to share that with us.
David and his wife Nicola have penned this, and I'll give it up to you. Our journey with Khadija Say and Mary Mendy began in 2014, when my wife Nicola, this is in David's hand, was a judge on the panel of the Discerning Eye exhibition, where she selected Khadija's series of work, Crowned. There was an important moment for Khadija, as she'd finished her photography BA at UCA Farnham, and for Mary, a proud mother who embraced her daughter's artistic vision. Khadija always talked lovingly about her family and friends, particularly the strong bond with her mother Mary. Khadija was Nicola's mentee for over 3 years, and throughout this period, Khadija developed a close relationship with our family and became an important part of our lives. As we got to know her more, we watched Khadija immerse herself in the art world. Her interests in identity, activism, heritage and faith steadily grew and informed her practice in deeper ways. During her time working for Nicola as a studio assistant, she was working on her series, Eid. Khadija spoke often about her multi-faith heritage and spirituality, which was a source of constant inspiration in both her work and her search for self-understanding. The profound value she placed on her heritage and faith was nothing short of inspiring. We were always struck by Khadija's quiet ambition and clarity of vision. We had the privilege of watching her rise from a shining light of emerging talent who was struggling to get her work into the world to a star freshly back from exhibiting in Venice at the crest of a wave of international success. Khadija and Mary will always be remembered as two beautiful souls that graced this earth and touched the lives of all who knew them. We feel proud and incredibly blessed to have been close to the light that shone so brightly on Khadija. Our dear friends will be treasured in our hearts forever. These are the words of David Lammy. Now, I don't have anything written down, and I'm told that I've got a limited amount of time to talk here. So, what I'm going to say to you comes from the heart. What has happened in Grenfell Towers is a disgrace. It is disgusting. There are no other words for it. People's lives have been taken away from them. Generations of hope, homes, which people have invested their life in, are gone. This tall coffin in the air is perhaps the best way to describe it. What's going to happen to it? How long will it remain there? As a timely reminder of man's inhumanity to man. My cousin, and indeed both Khadija and Mary are my cousins. My cousin Mary was, to my mind, the epitome of humility, loyalty. Somebody who had a smile that is best described as being a ball of effervescence. She's gone.
Well, Ambrose, we got an unexpected added part of your presentation there. Please don't feel in any way that you have to be inhibited in what you're going to tell us. I know we meant to cut that for you a little earlier, but what would you like to say?
I'll try and pick up from where I was on the film. Mary indeed was a a ball of effervescence, really a brilliant character, but somebody who was a legacy builder, a heritage preserve. Great teaching, great learning from her parents, and indeed from my dad. My sister Clary said earlier on that my dad was the person that brought Mary to England. And my dad told me that I've got to find her a job. So we worked happily alongside each other for about 18 months, 2 years. I was one of the first persons that she told that she was pregnant. And to try to share that with you, and that's what I really want to do here, it's about celebration. And because of the darkness of the tragedy of Grenfell Towers, celebration seems really awkward and incorrect. But in life, one lives to achieve. And when the finality of life comes, it has to be commemorated in a way. And every life lived has something to celebrate. My dad came from a tiny village in Guinea-Bissau, in northern Guinea-Bissau, which lies just underneath Senegal and the Gambia. He came from a tribe of people who settled in an area called Kayumet in Kanchungu. And these are the Manjaco peoples. For 400 years, the Portuguese oppressors tried to suppress the natives of that country, and they failed miserably, I'm glad to say. And today everybody works alongside each other. There is no enemy. Everybody works for progress, for the future, for togetherness. That comes through the building of community. And the one fantastic thing that I see from Grenfell Towers, and I was born, raised, brought up in East London, in Hackney, the one thing, the magic thing, is community. You know, I'm 64 years of age. My mum would send me, I'm one of 11 kids, go 2 doors down the road and borrow a cup of sugar. There was nothing about pride or whatever, you just needed it, so you got it, and you gave it back. Those were the days of simplicity, comparative simplicity. I try to understand why and how Mary and Khadija came to be in the position that they were in. And I can't and I won't. It's beyond me. But what I do know, and what is so important for us all to understand, is that these were lives that were fulfilled. There is a tremendous legacy. The manifest impregnation of culture and heritage. It's almost like in a relay race. You put your hand behind you, you're given good service, and you carry on your stride and you give to the person that's waiting for you. That's the job, that's the duty. When I talk to people that knew my cousins, because they too had family in Grenfell Towers, it's so uplifting, it's so energizing. I came in here today and people greeted me like I'm long lost, forgotten family. And that's wonderful. And as you know yourself, when we sat down before we came in here, this isn't a time for vitriol and hatred. It's a time to come together and hold one another, to hold in embrace, because we know we're going to go forward. You know, people who are greater exponents of podium speaking than myself, as recently as last Saturday, were there for change, different thinkings, paradigm shifts. The words love and fire were found and used in a new context. I sincerely hope that when that 70s soul song was sung at the wedding last weekend, there's another one here. The lines, memories don't leave like people do. They always stay with you. Whether they be good or bad, there's something you once had. I want to say to Mary and Khadija, to all those who lost family, and friends, to all those who are gathered here today to try to make a change. You are making a change. The change has been made. God bless you all. Thank you.
Larry, come back and help me finish off your commemoration, will you? Because I think we've got some more to see, haven't we?
I'd just like to say, I know there's not a time limit here today, but there are a few more things. We have Daudal, we have a piece of footage of some other relatives, and my cousin Daudal will yet make his statement as well. But as my brother Ambrose said, there is unity in the community, and that's how we're going forward, because that's what we're there for each other. Some days we're going to be weak, but others in the community will strengthen us, and we will have our day of glory. Thank you.
I think you're going to stand there with Daudal because Damal's going to come and tell us some things. And I think, please.
I think we're going to watch Eddie's clip first.
And we're going to watch Eddie's clip
first before Daudal, yes.
Right, let's watch Eddie's clip then.
Ready, will you? Yep. Whenever you're ready.
We're just here to pay respect to our cousin, our sister, and our niece cousin. You know, this is the first time I'm here.
Look, they're on here, look. On Karen.
I am gobsmacked.
When you're ready, will you tell me? I've got to sit down and put that in.
Yes. Jesus Christ.
When you're ready, tell me. What do you do?
You just. Jesus Christ. See, this is not about us. This is about the dead. I can't believe this. Jesus Christ.
I'd now like to ask my cousin Daudal to join me at the podium for his speech.
You're right standing there, Chloe. You're right standing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's a seat behind you.
No, very good. No, I'm good.
Greetings and good day to everybody here in this room today and everyone who will be seeing or hearing these testaments and tributes that we're giving to our families. My name is Daudal Carriol. I come first and foremost in the name of humanity because when all the divisions that we have are put to one side just for one day, give divisions a holiday just for one day, when it comes to the crunch, are we not all one race of people? Are we not the human race? We're human, and humanity comes from being human. Secondly and foremost, I come for immediacy of family, for Mary Mendy and Mendy and Say, my cousin and my niece. Thirdly and foremostly, I come today to give tribute also for everyone who's lost their souls, all the named people who's lost their souls from Grenfell Tower on the 14th of June 2017. While we're doing this, you may have heard from my cousin Clary and also my cousin Ambrose that we're from the West Coast, West region of Africa. I was born there in Gambia, as was Mary. Gambia, and you have Senegal, which is wrapped round Gambia. We call Gambia the smiling coast because it's shaped like a smile because of a line drawn around the river that became Gambia, and Senegal surrounds it. Guinea-Bissau is also there with the lines drawn. Take away the lines, you know, you have one people. Different peoples, I don't like the words tribes really because of some of the connotations that come up with tribes and tribalism, so I prefer to say the people. So there's different peoples, different languages, but the same amongst all those regions. So as we're here, as I stand here, very, very mindful of all our families in the Gambia, in Guinea-Bissau, in Senegal. We are here physically on territory to do and say what we can on their behalf. They are not here physically, but together we all, you know, we're here in our hearts and our minds. You just saw my cousin Eddie, who we also call Palam, was the last clip that you saw. Spoke to him about an hour ago, and he's, you know, you heard him anyway, in those days when the flowers were fresh and plentiful as they still are today. So anyway, I come to talk briefly just about what Mary did and what Khadija did. So Mary, in this later part of her life, was a carer. Now, it's a carer by nature and by profession. She's a giver. And we're givers. Where I come from, and there's many other places on this earth, but I know my Gambia and Senegal, we're givers by culture, welcoming people, giving of your heart, open hands, with no suspicion of anything, just to give. When you think of a profession as a carer, maybe juxtapose it with a few other professions, whichever, architect or whatever you may be. And somehow in our minds, do we see a hierarchy of worth, do we? Of what a carer is? She's a carer. What does that mean? You're giving your time, your energy, yourself to people who are lonely, people who may lose hope, without your ear being there to listen to them, without your heart being there daily. Ask the members of the community that Mary was a carer for, with her Christian, also a Christian nature. Ask people like Sister Ruth, who never stopped singing the praises of Mary. Khadija also did care work as well. Ask them what a carer and a giver is. That's what she did. Through her faith, her belief, her Christianity, her culture. Okay? Khadija, what did she do? 14 years of age, you're winning a scholarship to rugby. This is an exalted seat of learning. So it shows you something about what her caliber is. And it's recognized. And today, Khadija will say, yes, you are an artist. Believe it. Your work has been exhibited. Your work is being honored and exalted. I went to see your picture of Sortu in the Tate Britain exhibition, where they honored you with a beautiful bunch of white roses and a plaque to honor everyone who passed away at Grenfell. You're being recognized. You are an artist. Art kind of runs in our family, as it does, from my point of view, as an artist myself, in every single one of us. Art is all around. It's presented in many different ways. It's a shame, I feel, that it's been undermined where it should be exalted, because when we look at great civilizations that have come and gone through all the years, thousands of years, what do they leave behind? What do we have to look at to learn about people and how they lived? It's their art, their drawings, their paintings, their sculptures, their pots with designs on it, artifacts. This is what we look at and learn from. That's what Khadija did, and she's left behind, unfortunately. But the fact is, it's here. So with myself, after this fire happened on the 14th, by the 16th, I'd kind of had enough in the morning from speaking to family. You heard from Adelaide, who was a daughter of Eddie, the last relative who spoke. You heard her eulogy at the church. She was going from hospital to hospital. Edward's brother, Gabriel, who is probably my closest relative, whenever I go to Gambia, the two of us are just like this, partners in good crime, right? Having fun, having excitement. He can't be here today. So when his wife was here, Gabriel, at the time when it happened. She was about to go back on the Friday, the Wednesday after. So myself and her were talking back and forth, the rest of the family waiting, looking at news, listening to radio, and taking in so much, waiting for news, what's happened to them. By the Friday morning, I'd had enough. I'd been doing a year's project of painting. After leaving my 9-to-5 full-time job, I could finally fully express myself in art. I'd been doing music for so many years. Now was the time to finish a year's project, put all my paints down, canvases down. Grenfell happened. By that Friday morning, I just couldn't take any more. One canvas was left there. One big canvas was left sitting there. I had something else in mind for it. For the first time, I've drawn grid lines on this plain canvas. I haven't worked with grid lines before. What happened? Grid lines were used to do a painting of the tower, a pure outpouring of my depth of feeling. You can imagine what that feeling was. I'd spent maybe 2-3 months doing a portrait of Marvin Gaye before. 5-6 hours, I just poured everything I had into this painting. And doing it, it taught me one thing, or reminded me of one thing, which is no matter how angry you are, or the depth of expression, you still have to have a degree of measure in what you do. For I had to stop and measure the flaws and count things which I didn't want to do. I just wanted to throw the paint on there. This, I hope, will carry me and yourself and all of us through. With our depth of feeling, we still need to stop and measure what are we looking for, the outcome of all this on behalf of our family. So I did this painting, and I would like to present yourself, Sir Martin, with a copy of it.
Thank you very much. I'm going to come round so that I can take it from you first.
Okay. This is called I Saw, the Final Straw. I've written a message on there to you, Sir Martin, if I may read it with your permission.
Please do, yes.
Right. It says, to Sir Martin Morbick, work until truth is laid bare. To quote your words, sir, if I may. There's abbreviation marks around it, so do it for humanity. Do it led by love. And it's signed by myself, Demel, family and Grenfell community. So this is just a gift to yourself and whoever, just to keep in foremost of our minds what we're really here for. You know, we are here for each other, for humanity. So if we don't care, take our eye off the ball, something like this could happen. So it comes from a good place. And thank you to everybody for listening.
Well, thank you very much for your copy of a very fine work with personal observations attached. And I'm very pleased to accept it on behalf of myself, but more particularly on behalf of my whole inquiry team And as I have said more than once, we shall work until the truth is laid bare. Thank you very much indeed. Can I leave it here for people to come and look at? I'll take it away later. I'll put it down here. I'm going to leave this up by the stage here because I gather that some of you might like to come and have a look at it, and then it will go back to the inquiry team's headquarters and we shall hang it somewhere to remind us all of what this is all about. Thank you very much.
Well, last but not least, I cannot leave here today without saying thank you to the community. Thank you for all the support countrywide. Thank you to the survivors. I pray their life gets better every minute of the day and we have closure. All I can say is God bless us all in this struggle. We just keep the faith and pray that the inquiry panel members do the right thing. Amen, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
Sir, as you rightly observe, I know there are a number of people who not only want to look at that fine piece of work, but also take some photographs.
Yeah.
We've also been listening to quite a detailed commemoration, so I'm going to ask for 10 minutes, if I may, please, so people can stretch their legs, and then we will turn to the Kucher family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, well, we'll have a 10-minute break. Thank you very much.
So one of the things I've been doing during the break is to speak to those who are assisting us, and the amazing piece of work that's been handed to you is going to be on display for the rest of these commemoration hearings in the hall. We're just finding an appropriate easel. I'm no good at those sort of things. I'm afraid someone else will have to provide it. And it will be on display somewhere for anyone who wants to see it, to remind us of everything that was said.
Thank you.
I don't know why I mispronounced it. I'm terribly sorry, but of course we're now going to commemorations for the Shakir family. And of course there are 6 members of that family from flats 193, Nadia, Bassem, Mirna, Fatima and Zainab, and Syria in flat 191. The person standing ready at the lectern is Hisham. Thank you for coming and waiting. Now, before we start, we know there's a still which is going to be behind you for the presentation. Before we start, would you like to introduce who's on the stage with you?
My sister, Sausan Shakir, Albert, who's her solicitor, Daniel and Sam.
Thank you very much. Yes.
My name is Hisham Shakir. I lost my mother, Syria, who was 60. My youngest sister, Nadia Shakir, who was 33. Her husband, Bassem, was also my cousin and was 40. And 3 children, my nieces, Mirna, who was 13, Fatima, who was 11, and Zainab, who was only 3 years old. My mother and my sister, Sausan, who is also addressing you through her solicitor, lived in flat 191 on the 22nd floor of the tower, opposite right near flat 193 on the same landing, where my sister, Nadia, lived with her husband and children, all who perished in the fire. My mother was born in Lebanon and came to this country in the early 70s when she was 17 to be with my father, who was able to sponsor her coming to the country through his work. They were married and made a home in Redcliffe Gardens in the Earls Court area in the south of the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, where they brought up my older brother, Nabil, Sausan, myself, and Nadia. As soon as my mother arrived, because she'd not been able to have an education in Lebanon, she registered at a college in Fulham, where she learnt to speak English. Both my parents worked all their lives in the food industry. My dad was a waiter in a restaurant called Omar Khayyam near Oxford Street, which was very well known in the 1970s, where his speciality was preparing Turkish coffee, a skill he became so famous for. He would be asked to do this at private events and parties. Soon after starting a family, my mother started work at the Royal Marsden Hospital in the catering department, where she stayed for the rest of her working life. She loved her job very much. She was devoted to her supervisor, who was also known as Pilly and also lived in Grenfell Tower, and sadly lost her life a few months after the fire. Pilly just lived a few floors away, but even before my mother moved to Grenfell Tower, Pilly and my mother grew very close. My mother was a very fastidious woman. She took her job extremely seriously, and her relationship with Pilly was also very important to her. She was an excellent cook, making both English and Lebanese dishes. When we were young, she would get up extremely early every morning, and before anyone else was awake, she'd make brilliant dishes from scratch. Hummus, tabbouleh, rice and chicken, pizza. My favorite was kousa, which is Arabic courgette stuffed with rice and yogurt in a mint sauce. Not sour like a British courgette. It is sweet and light green. So every day we'd wake up to the smell of delicious cooking, and by the time we were up and she was ready to go to work, she'd prepared all the food for the day. She'd work a full shift at the hospital, and when she came home, she did the housework. No one worked harder or cared for their children more. Although she was quite a quiet person herself, but she loved for us to mix and meet other people. She would take us on outings with friends to Trafalgar Square and parks across London. Every Sunday, we'd have lunch with our Christian friends, and we'd always have Christmas dinner with them. Even though we don't celebrate Christmas, she used to put up a Christmas tree, and we'd all look forward to giving each other presents. She had come to this country as a stranger at a very young age, yet she was determined to give us everything. She sacrificed everything for us so we could prosper and be a proper part of the country she'd adopted as her home. Because she had not been able to go to school herself, education was very important to her. Both my parents deliberately worked extremely hard so they could send all of us to a private school. Obviously, with a family of 4 children, it was a considerable expense, not only the fees, but the other costs and the coaches to get us there. But because she had not had the opportunity, she wanted it for us. She wanted us to be able to have what she didn't have, so we could look up. And wanted us to be able to look after ourselves, so we couldn't look after them in turn as they got older, which is traditional in our culture. But that is something now I will never be able to do. She was kind and loving and patient and incredibly resilient. She brought us up to work hard, to be considerate to others, to be kind, to respect other people and other cultures. She worked hard and lived modestly to give us the chance to thrive. At one point, when I just got married, Nabil and his wife, Nadia and Basim, and me and my wife were all living with my mum in Redcliffe Gardens. Family was everything to us, and she did everything she could to give us the best start in life. 13 years ago, my father passed away when he was just 52. That's okay. This was a huge strain on my mother. She started to develop severe arthritis when eventually made it impossible for her to continue working. Nadia and Basim moved to flat 193 in Grenfell Tower and started to raise their own family. After a while, it became possible for my mother to swap her flat in order to live near to them in flat 191. Being next door to her daughter and her grandchildren was a great pleasure for her. She was able to support Nadia and Basim by looking after her grandchildren, as both Nadia and Basim worked extremely hard themselves. Eventually, her arthritis made it impossible for her to work, but she was able to care full-time for Zainab when Nadia was at work as a nursery teacher at Avondale School. She looked after Zainab like she was her own. She was not just a grandmother, she was also a mother to the kids. She kept the flat immaculate. The whole place felt spacious and uncluttered. She felt safe being so close to Sausan, Basim, and Nadia. We were all inseparable. We would live together and go on holiday together. She went to Lebanon every year. The sun helped her relieve the pain from her medical condition. My mum was a proud woman, a devout woman whose life was family and work, who never said a bad word about anybody. She lived her life for others, despite the hardships she suffered. She was kind and caring, and I will miss her forever. My sister, Nadia, was the youngest of us. When she was born, we all used to fight over her. Who bathed her, who fed her. She was just so cute, so adorable. You just wanted to kiss her, suffocate her with kisses and cuddles. We all loved Nadia. She was beautiful. But she was also wise. She had my mother's resilience, but she would speak her mind. She was a fighter. She would always stand up for her rights, always knew the difference of right from wrong. And she inherited my parents' work ethic. From being a teenager, she knew she wanted to work with children. After moving into the tower, she started work at Avondale School, which is very close to Grenfell Tower. Nadia was loved by the parents and teachers as well as the kids. Because my mother was able to look after my nieces, Nadia was able to work right through bringing up her family. Nadia loved to swim. She was a great swimmer and was registered at the gym, but she was a great socializer. So many people loved Nadia. Since the fire happened, I've just been amazed how many people have come up to say that they were connected to Nadia and how much they loved her. She touched many lives. Nadia was very close to a lady called Helen and her daughter Julia, who lived on the 21st floor. Julia became part of the family. Helen and Julia were always there. Both Basim and Nadia worked incredibly hard. Basim got up at 4 o'clock every morning and cycled to work. He worked as a supervisor at Marks and Spencer. He was incredibly conscientious. Sorry, thank you. Even when he was at home, he was always texting people, telling them what to do. He never took a single day off work in the whole time he worked there. He was an excellent father, kind, loving, considerate, always wanted the best for his children. He didn't care how hard he had to work. He just wanted to provide everything for them. From the moment he came to this country, all he wanted was to look after and protect his family. Because I met my wife at the same time as Nadia and Basim got together when we were all in Lebanon, I got to know Basim very well. We'd walk around the village as a foursome, going to cafeterias, walking together in the countryside. So I became very close to Basim, really as soon as he became part of our close family. With my mum and Sausan living next door, they were always in and out of each other's flats, especially the kids. My mum would often be passing on dishes. Sometimes they'd all eat together. Often, my mum picked up Zainab from nursery, and Zainab would stay over with her. Nadia loved the area around Grenfell. She was very popular with everyone. She knew so many people through looking after their children. They were proud of where they lived, but that all changed with the refurbishment. She had so many problems with the contractors, so much trouble with the council. There were many times when the lift broke down, which was terrible for my mother. It made it virtually impossible for her to leave the building. I was never happy with the building. I always had a bad feeling about it. Nadia and Basim tried to buy their flat. They'd saved the deposit, but no bank would give them a mortgage as soon as they found out they were on the 22nd floor. This led me to believe that the banks were aware of something within high-rise social housing that we were not aware of. I live very close to the tower, and my own children, now 7 and 5, were inseparable from their cousins. They were almost like brothers and sisters. Nadia and Basim stepped in several times, looking after my own children when I had to be their primary carer. My children loved their cousins and auntie and uncle, and Tata, as they called my mother. They were staying at the flat with my mum and Sausan until the night before the fire, because my wife was in hospital. I came to collect them the day before the 13th of June 2017, so they could be home when my wife was due out of hospital. So I saw them all for the last time as I collected my children from my mother. I went to see everyone, but Nadia was asleep. I remember Zainab had a bad headache. Mirna and Fatima opened the door, and I talked to both of them and Basim, but then left because I was very tired. If my wife hadn't been due out of hospital, my children would be dead too. My niece, Mirna, was their oldest child. She had been at Avondale, but had moved on to Kensington Aldridge Academy for her secondary school. She loved sports and music, Arabic music, pop music. She was artistic. She drew at a very early age. She loved school, loved learning. She was very focused, but in a very relaxed manner. She had an excellent sense of humor, probably more so than her sisters. She wanted to be either a doctor or a lawyer. The last time I talked with her about it, she couldn't decide. On the night of the fire, I received a call at around 2:20. My brother rang me and told me to put on the TV. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't leave the children alone, so I got them up and ran down there immediately with them in their pram. I found the building completely engulfed in flames. Sausan had tried to call them, but by this time there was no signal. The phone was just ringing and ringing, and we had to stand there for hours, helpless, watching them all burn to death. It was 5 months before we were able to bury them. My brother made the arrangements, and we took them to Nahli, the village where all our family are from. It was my mother's wish to be buried next to my father, who had died when she was in Lebanon. So now they are buried together. My mum, Nadia, Basim, Amina, Fatima and Zainab on a little slope in a remote country cemetery. Not like cemeteries here. It's more like a garden of peace. My grandmother, my mum's mother, is still alive, but she lives in a village and is unable to get about, unable to visit the grave of her granddaughter, and 3 great-grandchildren. She's not coping very well. I'm telling you all of this. These are my memories. These are the facts. But I have not been able to grieve. It has just been one thing after another. In one night, I have lost half of my family. I feel like a stranger now. It has destroyed everything. I feel like part of me has been taken away. When I go past and look at the tower, I have flashbacks. I know they are just pictures in my head, but I can actually see people behind those windows. Dying, trying to get out. So I keep busy, occupying myself with this, but I know it will not be until it all stops that you'll see the damage. This is just the start. It has already ruined many lives. My wife has been very badly affected. My children, my sister Sausan, my grandmother, alone in Lebanon, who was already very frail, is very deeply affected. The difficulties have caused huge upset within our remaining family. This inferno has split up families and smashed up their lives. None of the counseling I receive can ever repair what has already been done. I have to live with my family ripped apart for the rest of my life. I don't see this as a tragedy. I see it as an atrocity, because essentially there is segregation between the rich and the poor. I think they call it a postcode lottery. But I'm here to remember 6 lives. How can you sum up 6 lives in such a short space of time, so close to them passing? They were ordinary people, but they were also extraordinary people. They were my family, and they should still be here. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, whenever he was surrounded by a coalition or army, he recited, Hasbi Allah wa na'mal wakil, which means Allah alone is sufficient for us. And what an excellent guardian he is. He is the best disposer of affairs.
Now, Albert, thank you very much for that. We'll just take a second or two and let everybody catch their breath. Now, Albert, I think the position is that Sausan is here with you, but doesn't feel strong enough to deliver her commemoration and has asked you to do it on her behalf. And we quite understand that as well. Yes, please.
I've got to know Sausan over the last few months and become very close friends with her, and it's an honour to read this on behalf of you and your family. I lived at flat 191 on the 22nd floor of Grenfell Tower with my mum, Syria Shausa, who had lived there for several years. On the same floor, just across from our flat, in 193 lived my sister, Nadia, her husband, Basim, and their 3 children, Mirna, aged 13, Fatima, aged 11, Zainab, aged 3. All of the members of my family living in Grenfell Tower died in that fire. My sister and her husband have been living in the tower for quite a long time, for over 11 years. When it became possible for my mum to move into the flat near to my sister, I moved in with my mum, who was suffering from acute arthritis, so that I could support her. We exchanged a much bigger flat so we could move into the tower to be near Nadia and her family. It meant that my mum and I were sharing a one-bedroom flat. I was never happy there myself, but my mother loved being close to Nadia and her grandchildren. The flat had a beautiful view. My mum loved watching the fireworks. She took pleasure in simple things. She loved her coffee in the morning, Arabic coffee, with just a little bit of sugar. She loved watching Indian films and Turkish films. I bought her a really big television, which we put up on the wall. She loved her food, and she was a brilliant cook. Of course, she missed the good weather back in Lebanon, where she grew her own vegetables, but she had a huge tomato plant we kept in the kitchen and on the kitchen table that went all the way to the ceiling. She loved flowers, and we would bring flowers to her home from work. Even though she spoke good English, she would speak Arabic at home. Her arthritis made it difficult for her to travel to the mosque, but she prayed 5 times a day. My mum had come to this country when she was young. She had a very hard life. She had worked her entire life. She got up early when we were young, made food for us, went to work, came home, and then looked after us. She was an extremely hard worker, but she never complained. She did not gossip or have bad words to say about people. You could trust her with anything you said. She was dedicated to her job at the Royal Marsden Hospital, and I used to work there myself when I was young during the school holidays and got to know Pilly, who also died at the beginning of this year. My mum loved Pilly, and Pilly loved my mum. Pilly was the best manager I've ever known in my life, and they both got on brilliantly. Although my mum could not read or write, Pilly knew 100% that what my mum would do would be perfect. Although she was my mum's boss, Pilly was so caring. She knew her workers and cared for them, and she looked after them, and my mum cared for Pilly in return. My parents had come from Lebanon to make a better life in London, to work hard. My mum was young and had an enormous amount of responsibility. My dad worked night shifts, but she worked through the day, so it was a hard life for both of them. They did so that we could thrive. What was important to my mum was her family and bringing us up to understand the importance of respect. Respect for others and respect for ourselves. It is something that was drilled into us by our mum, all of us by our mum. The death of my father was hard on my mum. Her health deteriorated, and she eventually had to walk with a stick. She'd been suffering for many years, but she got on with her life. Being close to Nadia and me was very important to her. She had a very close relationship with all her family, but she was particularly close to Zainab, helping to bring her up. My mum would look after little Zainab every day, so Nadia could go to work. Because of Nadia's long hours, they spent a great deal of time together. She loved her to bits. We all loved Zainab. When I would come back from work, Zainab was so happy to see me. We were just all so close. We would knock on each other's doors all the time. We would eat together, watch movies together. We sat in the park together. I would take the girls out shopping, especially during the sales. I just loved to spend money on them and to spoil them. I remember one day when the sales were on, we got up early at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I took Mirna and Fatima, and we went shopping all morning and all afternoon, buying clothes. When I came home, my sister said, "Wow, why did you spend all that money?" Yet I did not care about money. I have no daughters of my own, so money was not the issue for me. I wanted them to have the things because I loved them, and because as little girls they really loved clothes. Often I would come home, and my Anna and one of her friends would have been in my room trying on shoes. I used to have loads of shoes and bags. So when I would come back, they would be trying them on, taking pictures, putting them on Snapchat and social media. I was very close to all the girls. Zainab would often stay with us. She would say that she would want to sleep with me, but I'd explain to her that I wouldn't want to wake her up when I had to get up for work. She just wanted to be there with us. So I would let her sleep with me sometimes, and she slept like an angel. The older girls were brilliant at school. They were hardworking and conscientious pupils. Iona was excellent academically. She wanted to be a lawyer. They were very confident kids, just like my mum, and they were able to stand up for themselves. Fatima was a great gymnast. She had the body for it and wanted to become a professional gymnast when she grew up. They were the very best behaved children I've ever seen. They never raised their voices, not because their parents were strict, but because they had good behaviour instilled in them from an early age. That is just how we grew up with our parents, knowing right from wrong and how to respect other people. I guess that is what Nadia had learnt from our parents. Nadia was my little sister. When she was a child, all of us fought to hold her. She was beautiful, just like a doll, just so cuddly and cute. She was the most photogenic person. But now, I have no original photos of her. No photos of my mum, my dad, and my sister. Everything was burnt in the fire. The photo albums we had, the pictures on my iPad, everything is just gone. To make the film for the inquiry, we even had to go to the school to try and find pictures of the children. It was all taken away from us in the fire, not just of one person, but everything from my whole family. Like my mum, Nadia was a hard-working person. She was very caring towards her children, towards her husband, whom she loved dearly. She loved mixing with people. She loved looking after other people's children. She knew so many people in Grenfell Tower and in the neighbourhood because she cared for others. Her friend, Helen, and Helen's daughter, Lulia, both became part of our family. Basim, like a second dad to Lulia. Iona loved Lulia, as did Fatima, even Zainab loved Lulia. Nadia met Basim in Lebanon. He came and asked her hand, and they were for her hand, and they were married, and he came to join her in Britain. Basim was extremely hard-working. He did not care what he did as long as it was putting food on the table for his family. What he cared about was his family. They were his complete priority. I remember that he was working in restaurants for terrible pay, so I spoke to my managers and got him a job where I worked, in Marks and Spencer's. He was very, very good at his job. Soon he was promoted until he eventually became the section coordinator. He was brilliant at his work. Everybody was terrified of him at work because he was so strict. But at home, he was the opposite. He was always loving and caring. Because we worked together, we would both get up and go out to Grenfell early most days, sometimes as early as 4 a.m. Basim would always cycle to work, but I preferred to take the bus. He was always trying to persuade me to get on a bike, but I would tell him I was scared of the road. He would reply, "Come behind me, you'll be all right." We were really close. We were best friends as well as relatives. We used to laugh together. At work, we were like Tom and Jerry. The other managers would be saying, "What are those two playing at?" We were inseparable. For me, he made work fun. But he was also very caring. I have had health issues, and Basim was always looked after me and looked out for me. Even when I called him during the fire, his first thoughts were to reassure me. He told me everything was all right, even though he was trapped with my family in a burning building. Part of Basim's job was taking care of fire safety. He had his certificates for training courses. No one took his job more seriously than Basim. If only he'd been in charge of fire safety at Grenfell Tower. Lebanon was very important to the family. We would visit there often. Unable to buy their own home at the tower, Basim and Nadia used their savings to build a house in Lebanon, in the village where we all came from. They built the house themselves. They poured all the money into it. Basim literally built it with his own hands during the holidays. Nadia helped fit the floor. They sent pictures to us as it was being constructed. It was ready, apart from the furniture. It was beautiful. But in the end, because of the fire, they never got to stay a single night in there. Everything has been taken away from me. My mum, my sister, the brother-in-law that I worked with every day, and my little nieces, who I loved like they were my own children. It has been impossible to go back to work. My memories are too strong. We were all very, very close to one another. I loved them. They were all amazing people. It is almost impossible to believe that this tragedy has fallen on our family. Even now, sometimes I think they are still here, but then I remember the truth and I realise that they're all gone from me. It has just destroyed us. I've lost my family. I've lost everything I own. I've lost all the photos, all the mementos, all the physical evidence that the people I loved ever existed. Everything has been taken away from me, and I have had to start from scratch. Even now I think of things and suddenly realise, no, that's all gone. It was all consumed by the fire. I try really hard to remember everything, to try and record in my mind what things were like before the fire, but it is hard as things and people are just not there anymore. Putting together even the basic memories for this has been difficult because the fire has destroyed our minds as well as our loved ones. It is impossible to do this as my memory has gone completely. It is impossible to put anything clearly together anymore. That is what this tragedy has done. I am sorry, but I cannot put anything together anymore. How is it possible to sum up all these lives, the lives of so many people in a family who have been taken away from us? How can I explain to you the love and the affection I feel for these people? To present to you an image of their shortened lives, especially when I myself am destroyed inside. I and the other families only ask for justice. This should not have happened, but it did. There are reasons why my family died, and the inquiry has a duty to uncover them. What we do not want is excuses. You cannot let people get away with such an atrocity. We need, in fact, we demand justice for every single family. I would not want anyone to go through and suffer what my family has had to suffer. Many, many lives have been wrecked and completely destroyed. We are broken. I said before that my mum taught us respect. In turn, the way to respect my beautiful mum, who lost her life in the fire, along with all the other beautiful people who died in the disaster, is by ensuring that they all receive justice, nothing more and nothing less. Things must change, or our loss and our suffering will have been in vain, and this will happen again and again and again. Thank you.
So there's also now a film, so I'm going to ask that the lights are turned down so that we can watch it.
They go in, and we know they're trapped in, like you can just see little kids. You can see little kids, yeah, with their hands on the windows and crying for help as the flames are getting to them.
Look, there's someone in the top with his shining his light.
That must be
SOS.
We're stuck on the 23rd floor. Hello.
مكان في لندن فين؟
There's too many people stuck upstairs. Oh my God, they're screaming. Oh my God.
My name is Shakir. I live in 191 with my mum. My sister lived in 193. I want this on a memory. Lost my loved ones, my mum, my sister, my cousin, my nieces, everyone. Yeah. This is my mum, Shakir. And this is the whole family that died. My mum, Shakir, Nadia, Fatima, Zainab, Mina, Basim. I just wanted to put the pictures of the people that died in the tower, basically. I didn't want no one else, you know. My mum, she's a lovely person, very kind, very generous, very caring. She taught herself how to read, like, you know, when she used to go to the job. I don't know how she did it, but it's amazing how she did it, bless her. She always used to cook for us, you know, work, cook, and go to work, come back, feed us, clothe us, everything.
She was an all-in-one mum, a mum that raised her daughter's children as if they were her own children. My mum was very protective over us, even when we were in the wrong, especially with our dad. I think she became probably more independent when my dad had died, which is understandable. A very proud person, doesn't really wish to rely on anybody. My mum really did work hard in her life, gave us the love, gave us the support, the patience, and basically prepared us to what we have to face in terms of, during our life. She really has prepared us, and we're grateful to her for that.
This is my sister and the family, all of them together out.
Nadia was my youngest sister. When Nadia was born, we used to always fight over her, about who would feed her, who would carry her, who would she sleep next to. She was like a munchkin.
We were like fighting for her just to like feed her or something or hold her, That was when she was young, And then as she got older and everything, me and my sister were very close, very close. She would tell me a lot of things, secrets and everything.
This is Basim. Again, on the day of his wedding, we were all together. So the fact that we got engaged together roughly about the same time, and being with them and, going out with them, that was quite special. We used to walk behind each other when we used to...
The reason why the film's stopped is for some reason this strobe lighting is going mad and it's actually causing difficulties. And so I don't want...
to get the lighting fixed quickly.
I'm going to see that it's fixed quickly. I'm also aware that some people needed to leave the room. I'm sorry that the warning which was supposed to be put out for this film didn't get put out. So can we just take a moment? I'll start the film from a sensible place so that everyone can see it. But at the moment, until the lights are under control, it's incredibly distracting for everybody, not least the people trying to watch it from the stage.
Yeah.
May I just have 2 minutes to get this sorted out?
Yes, of course.
There is apparently a difficulty. I wonder if you just rise for a moment.
Yes, certainly, all right.
Sir, I think you know everything there is to know as to what's happened.
Yes. Now, are we going to pick up the film?
What we've done is we've placed the film at a position where there are no images of any fire, anything of that sort, and we're playing the rest of the film, and I'm assured that there are no other images within that film which will concern people. I've also checked, can I say, with the people who've provided the next film, and again I'm right in my note that there is nothing in that film about which further warning will be given.
All right. I'm sorry about that interruption. I hope you're content that we pick the film up again at the point when Mr. Richmond indicated. You happy with that? Yes, all right, thank you.
Go to work, come back, feed us, clothe us, everything.
She was an all-in-one mum, a mum that raised her daughter's children as if they were her own children. My mum was very protective over us, even when we were in the wrong, especially with our dad. I think she became probably more independent when my dad had died, which is understandable. A very proud person, doesn't really wish to rely on anybody. My mum really did work hard in her life, gave us the love, gave us the support, the patience, and basically prepared us to what we have to face in terms of, during our life. She really has prepared us, and we're grateful to her for that.
This is my sister and the family, all of them together out.
Nadia was my youngest sister. When Nadia was born, we used to always fight over her, about who would feed her, who would carry her, who would she sleep next to. She was like a munchkin.
We were like fighting for her just to like feed her or something or hold her, That was when she was young, And then as she got older and everything, me and my sister were very close, very close. She would tell me a lot of things, secrets and everything.
This is Basim, again, on the day of his wedding. We were all together, so the fact that we got engaged together roughly about the same time, and being with them and, going out with them, that was quite special. We used to walk behind each other when we used to go out on like outings within the village. We used to go, together as like a four couple, if you know what I mean. Myself and my wife and Basim and Nadia.
This is Basim and my sister here. This was taken as a younger age. We managed to get this from somewhere. Someone's posted it up or something. I don't know, whatever. He worked in Marks Spencer, which I did also. I worked as a baker. Basim worked as a section coordinator. He was so caring. I was so happy working with him, He really did care, and he cared for his job. He always worked from his heart. He used to start early in the morning before I did. He'd start at 5. I start at 5:30. He used to get up, go to work, get on the bicycle. I used to use the bus. And he always said to me, Susan, go and get a bicycle, let's go on the road together. Let's go cycle to work. I said to him, I'm always worried about drivers, He always helped around the house. He would go shopping, he would do things.
The fact that she was a teacher, I'm sure he was proud of her. Who wouldn't want the mother of their child to be a teacher? Very passionate person about her job, very professional. Always wanted the best for the child. Done many courses, to do with childcare, to do with developing herself as a teacher. Started basically from childcare, just studying childcare to becoming a teacher. an assistant teacher, and the school loved her.
So I've known Nadia for 10 years. She came here as a young nursery officer, and she was young and she had a young family, but she was really keen to do anything she could do to improve, and she really wanted to be the best she could be. She started school when Myrna started in our nursery. So Myrna was 3, and then Fatima joined her a couple of years later, and then obviously Zainab came to our nursery just last May.
Mina, she was so funny as well. She had a good heart, very intelligent. I always said to her, you're going to be a teacher, but she used to wear the glasses. You're going to be a teacher, you'll do good as a teacher.
Every morning my alarm goes off and of course decide to wake up. I then do my hair so it doesn't get in the way when I am doing stuff, and put on my glasses.
She was very focused, very caring, loves going out, loves shopping. She loves the things I love, which is good. You know, she always used to go in my room, which was in my mum's house, and say, all these shoes, look at my auntie's got. She's got all these Lipsy shoes and all these different kinds of shoes, tracksuits and all that. She loved my style, Mina, you know.
And of course, having had my clothes on, I put on my jacket and get my bag ready to go swimming.
Mina, oh my god, I can't even describe how amazing she was. Words can't even describe how much of a sister she was to me. I mean, she was my human diary. That's what she was. I used to never keep a diary. I used to just tell everything to her. She used to advise me. She used to be the person which you could have a conversation with for anything. She will always be there to have a conversation with you, and she's like the type of person who you can deeply tell anything to.
She'd be the shoulder to cry on, the best hugs, and she was just so kind, sweetest girl you'd ever meet. We'd sit around in the playground, we'd talk, or she would play with my hair a lot, and I'd tell her these boring stories about my sister, and she'd always find them so funny. I don't know why, she just find them so funny. Her laugh was just the beautifulest sound ever, amazing, and I just wish I could hear it now.
I valued her so much, and especially after the fire, it hit me so hard because I was on the phone to her, and she told me, I love you, Aya, I love you, bye. And when she had told me that, it hurt me so much to see that somebody who I grew up with, somebody who I value as my sister, I mean, that family is the closest family I've ever had.
Mina will protect her sister, Fatima will protect her sister and protect the little one. So they were so protective for each other. You know, it's amazing, you know.
Fatima was a delightful, charming little girl who was she found her learning more difficult than her older sister had, but she really worked at it, really tried hard, and we were thrilled but desperately sad when just after the Grenfell fire in about early July we had all the SATs results, but so thrilled that Fatima had achieved the national standard for all her subjects, and for her that was a very difficult thing to have done.
Loving, caring girl. Used to fight with her sister. Loved music. Loved sports. She was blossoming. I call her. She's like a flower, blossoming. You know.
After the fire, Fatima's team were playing in the girls' football final within our local area, and they said, we're doing this for Fatima, we're doing this for Fatima, and it was a very, very moving for us all because these girls were 3 of her best friends were in this team, and it was really important for them and the boys. The boys were so behind it, you know, score a goal for Fatima, score a goal for Fatima.
Fatima, she was a very sporty character. Like, she used to love football, she used to go to tournaments, she was really, really good. She would, even if she was scared of things, she would overcome her fear and still do it, because she wouldn't know when she would get another opportunity to do that. So she's my little sister. I loved her.
Hello. Hello. Zainab was such a beautiful kid. Such a beautiful kid. At a young age, she was beautiful. She was even beautiful when she was young, you know. She was about 3 years old that time. 3, yeah. This is her sitting down with the olives, put them on her hand. She was like a good actor. I remember her. She was a good actor. She used to make things and do things, and she used to copy people. You know, wherever she found funny, she'll copy them.
She's a showstopper. Wasn't ashamed to be like in the limelight. Is that what they say? Wasn't ashamed of that. Zainab to me is like a Betty Boo character. Someone with a sparky, cheeky sense of humour, and loves to laugh, loves to explore, loves to touch things, and just not hearing her voice, you know, it's really difficult. It really is difficult. She's the spark of the family. Most of my photos are with my mum. It's been really difficult to gather up, you know, like family photos together. The school have been kind enough to release these pictures. So to see all this, you know, just brings a tear to my eye.
You can make that bigger. Is it that one?
Yeah, I have a screenshot on my phone.
Screenshot, yeah.
This one, the rest will just do.
Oh, you know, you've got to save them for me and put them.
Okay.
Send them to me. I don't have any pictures, basically. The pictures I'm just gathering from here to there, you know. I mean, sometimes I'll say to myself, I've got this. And then I realise I have it, but I lost it in the fire. So that's how it's affected me really bad. Yeah, now, yeah.
That family is the closest family I've ever had. They were amazing. That house was like a second house to me. I used to go there after school. I used to be there on weekends. We used to go there at half terms. She used to come to my house, but mainly I used to go to hers because they used to be busy and amazing. And Zuzu, her little sister, running around.
I have many memories of them being together as a family. Talked about each other's days on the kitchen table, and just spoke about general life together and very open with each other. My mum would come in as well, and at sort of breakfast time, because she would have to get Zainab, so she would be part of the sitting down at breakfast.
They just were a very tight-knit, close, supportive family. You know, I can't think of many who are as tight-knit and supportive. They were a very solid unit, very tight. He adored her, I think she adored him, and I think the family was so important to them both.
Well, how can I say, it's wrecked our family, to tell you the truth. It's wrecked it. in a way, because loved ones have gone, all of them. You know, from mum to sister to nieces. It's destroyed us, basically.
Our family's just been shattered, basically. The love that was there just seems to have shattered everywhere.
Now Ramadan's coming as well, so that's another thing we have to face, because it was during the fire of Ramadan, and we're going to have our Ramadan soon, so it's going to be very hard for us. Yeah. All I want is justice. That's it. That's all I want. You know, I can't replace my sister, my mum, my nieces. I can't replace them, and that's really difficult, because it hurts us every time. It doesn't make a difference if it's a year or 2 years. It won't make a difference, because it's not easy, you know, to continue life as normal.
My family, if they were here, knowing who they were as people, would want justice to come out, would want this not to happen again, and would fight for that. Things have to change. We will fight for them to change, and we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen to other people.
Thank you very much. It was a very moving presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If we could just take 5 minutes, and then Rahman's family can pay their commemoration to him.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Sir, before we proceed to the last of the commemorations for this evening, with grateful thanks to everybody who has remained, can I merely, through you, make an announcement about tomorrow?
Yes, of course.
We are obviously concerned above anything else that people are as prepared as they can be for the portraits, although of course images are bound to affect people in different ways. Tomorrow morning there will be a sheet available which will list the names of the various commemorations for the rest of this period, and next to it there will be an indication of any of them which have particularly emotive parts or parts which may be emotive. Those will be available tomorrow, and they will be available every day. And so first thing in the morning I will remind people those sheets exist, and therefore if something happens everybody has something in their hands which they can refer to, and I hope that that will give people some comfort for the future 4 days.
Well, thank you very much. I think that'll be very welcome, because some of the images are inevitably distressing, and people need to be aware of the fact that they may be shown.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
So with apologies for the delay to them, we now have the commemoration for Hisham Rahman. The family are going to be, I think, introduced by the gentleman sitting at the end. Perhaps you'd come and join us. And tell us your name first of all.
Hello everybody, my name is Kareem Masohi. I lost my uncle Hisham Rahman, who lived on the top floor of Grenfell Tower. My auntie Noah and her son Omar have put together a short video which we will share with you in just a second. They did it themselves, and they were the closest to my uncle, and they're the ones that have suffered the most since June last year. They didn't just lose a brother or an uncle. They lost more than that, so I'd like to share the video with you now, if that's okay.
And before you share the video, perhaps you'd introduce the fellow people on the stage.
I apologise, yeah. So my auntie Noah, who put the video together with her son. It's my wife Vega, my great uncle Mohammed, and our solicitor and friend Jules.
So I think now we can see your film.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the lights will need to go down as well.
My name is Noha Baghdadi. I'm recording this because I lost one very important person in my life on June 14th, 2017. A huge part of me is missing, and no words could ever express what this person meant to me and my family. His name is Hisham Rahman, 57 years old. He lived on the 23rd floor of Grenfell Tower in flat 204. My earliest memories of Hisham are of him cuddling me and singing until I fell asleep. Hisham wasn't just my big brother. He became my best friend. I loved his company. We would go on long walks from Ladbroke Grove to Queensway, and sometimes we would find ourselves walking all the way to Oxford Street. During these walks, I would pour out my heart to him, telling him about what I've been up to and the latest piece of music I wrote. You see, Hisham was my biggest fan. He even gave me weekly pocket money. I would say to him, Hisham, enough now. You know, I'm good now, you know, you don't need to do this anymore. And he would say to me, I'm so proud of you. But you know what? In my eyes, you'll always be my baby sister. Hisham was kind, generous, and with a heart of gold. He loved to write poetry. He loved music. He was a wonderful hairdresser, so talented. He was funny and he was so caring. He loved my children so much. He would do anything for us, and he was the most amazing son to my mother.
My name is Omar. My uncle lived in Grenfell Tower. He has sadly perished. He was the most kind man I have ever met. He was the world to me. His personality made me stronger every time I was around him. We would do so many fun things together. These things have sadly now come to an end. It's hit us in the heart.
We are so lost without him. We are heartbroken. We are traumatized. And we are devastated. We miss him so very much.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to read something out. So, I want to share with you my last memory of my uncle Hisham Rahman. Excuse me.
Take your time.
It was when I visited him for the last time in his flat. It was a sunny day and the lifts weren't working in Grenfell Tower, which used to happen quite often. I took the stairs all the way to the top floor. There was only one staircase and it was quite narrow. I suffer with asthma, so it's a challenge for me to walk all the way to the top. I had to stop every 3 or 4 floors just to take a break and catch my breath. I was with 9 other people who were also walking up with me that day, which made me feel quite claustrophobic. We had to walk in single file because, like I said earlier, the staircase was very narrow. I couldn't help but think, how on earth would my uncle be able to escape this tower if there was a fire? Finally, I got to the top floor of the tower. I went into his flat, but instead of a hello, hi uncle, how are you, and a great big hug, I recited the Quran as I walked to the area where his remains were found. I carried on praying, and then I began apologizing to him. I remember saying, I'm sorry, uncle. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I'm sorry you were left alone to die in this death trap. I stayed in his flat for as long as I could, looking out the window of where he used to watch me play football at the Westway Sports Centre. His flat was unrecognizable. One big black room with no windows and cracks all over the floor. I will never be able to get that picture of the staircase out of my head. The smudged fingerprints of adults and kids in that narrow staircase will stay with me forever. The total blackness of the walls and melted light fixtures, giving me an insight into the terror the survivors must have felt that night, and the helplessness of the loved ones we lost. This last memory of my uncle in his flat is what is giving me the strength to stand here right now, to fight for justice and change. And I promise you, it will come. I promise you it will. So I ask you all here and everyone watching, when you go home tonight, hug your loved ones. Cherish every moment with them. Because until those in power listen and make changes to a system that failed, until then, only God knows how many homes are safe in this country. Only you, those in power, can make that change. So listen to our stories and learn from your mistakes. We are here to remember my uncle, Hisham Rahman. But to properly remember him, we have to remember why we are here. We are here because of failure. We are here because the system failed. The system was allowed to kill Hisham Rahman and 71 other souls. The very system designed to protect those people. But it failed. It failed them because it allowed individuals within that system to convince themselves that they had done enough. The system allowed them to hide behind rules and regulations and forget that there were human being lives at stake. We are here because there is a system of neglect. A system which allows individuals to show contempt for others and call it just doing my job. We had to form humanitarian groups to look after each other because there was no one else to look after us. No one else was there when we needed them. So we did it ourselves. And now we are having an inquiry to find out what most of us already know. What we had been saying for years and not been listened to. We're here because nobody listened. Because those in authority were convinced they knew better. We are here because that system is broken. You can't sweep this under the carpet. Can't hide behind rules and procedures no more. That's what allowed people to die. We were let down before, during, and all this time after the fire. Materials that are clearly dangerous to use in buildings are still there, up and down the country, right now, right this second, while I'm talking to you. These materials are still on these buildings. The very same ones that killed our families, that killed my uncle. It's been almost a year. And only recently we've been told that the government's going to commit to removing this cladding. Not good enough is not the word. Right now, right this second, this is how our families are being remembered. They're being remembered by a culture of neglect. Institutional inertia, hiding behind a system that's failed. We want the truth, not bureaucracy. We want light to be shone on what went wrong and who is responsible. We do not want excuses, buck passing, fancy technical arguments, or any legal grey areas. We want an inquiry into the truth. The truth that people died because those in authority convinced themselves that they had done enough.
Kareem, I have to be very careful here, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but some of what you're about to say is for the evidential hearings. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
All right.
I think, with all due respect, we've been censored enough. It's our time. Whether you like it or not, you will have to listen.
Speak, brother.
So let me continue. So I asked the representatives, the lawyers, and experts working for these organizations, who, by the way, are not here today. I don't see them here today, which I find quite disrespectful, if I'm being honest. I ask you, the people who must be held to account, go home tonight and hug your loved ones. Cherish every single moment of it. Because I hope and trust you feel safe in your homes, because we are still not. And when you're at home, I'd like you to remember not only my uncle, Rahman, I'd also like you to remember the 71 other souls we lost, their families and their friends. You have a duty to them and to yourselves, to the truth and not procedures. Because I promise you, we will not let you forget. I'd like to finish today by reading a poem my uncle wrote. As my auntie said in the video, my uncle used to express himself through poetry on social media. And he wrote some beautiful poems. This particular poem I'm about to read, he wrote in February 2016. And it's called My Will. My will. For who will remember me one day? Remember my presence before my departure. To see a smile on your face when I'm gone. A prayer from your heart. No tears or sadness near my grave. If we share the memory that's in your heart, always remember it with a smile. For who will remember me one day? Remember my presence before my departure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry you had to wait so long to make your commemoration, but it was worth the wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I think there's one more statement. Is that it? All right, that's not going to be it. All right, thank you. Well, that finished on a strong point.
Yes.
Which is good. Perhaps we can just thank again the family and supporters.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
So that's the end of today's proceedings, and we sit again tomorrow at 10 o'clock, please.
Well, thank you all for being here so long. It's turned into a very long day and a very emotional day, and I'm grateful to all of you for being here, particularly to see it through right to the end. Thank you very much. We'll finish now and start again at 10 o'clock tomorrow.